All right, guys, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with part 2 of the in-home presentation. So actually in part 1, I went a little bit further than I wanted to. I went ahead and did the pre-sale folder and the flip chart. So what we're going to do next in part 2 is I'm actually going to go over I'm going to pre-qualify. I'm going to ask you some health questions. Then I'm going to do the 3-option close. Then we're going to submit the application, which we're not going to go through that part. But I do want to go through the emergency response system, getting referrals, and then at the end I'm going to do what we call the cool down and the pushback. Okay, so let's just kind of very quickly just kind of pick up where we left off. So I think was here where I went over the 3 options, and you said, and I asked you which of these makes the most amount of sense to you.
Option 3. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Option 3, acquire. Yeah. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned it. I'm glad you said that, because that's all I can really help you with. I don't work for a funeral home, so I can't do prepaid funerals, and obviously doing nothing is not a good choice. From here, really, what I'm going to do is just ask you a few basic health questions. Or by asking you these health questions, that's going to help me determine which of these top-rated carriers is going to be the best fit for you. Okay? Are there any other health conditions that you are taking medications for that we didn't cover? Because it sounds like to me you're in really good health.
No, I'm not taking anything else.
Okay. All right. So no other medications, and there's no other issues that we've talked about, like any medications like for bipolar, depression, or anything like that.
Nothing like that. No.
Okay. So I would classify you as being in really good health then.
Except for the asthma.
Well, except for the asthma.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
very, very good. Okay. Well, great. Well, based on what you're telling me, I can really make some really strong, some good recommendations. What I'd like to do is I'm going to show you what most people are doing in your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to lay out some options. And guys, all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my 3-option worksheet. And this is really important that you fill it out exactly the way I'm going to show you how to fill it out. Okay? So what I'm going to say to Rat, and this is really, really important, is that before I go over the options, I'm gonna get my client. I'm gonna make you promise me something. Okay? And this is how I phrase it. I simply say this, Rat, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you what most people are doing in your situation, but I need you to really promise me something. Promise me is that if what I'm showing you, if these 3 options, if none of these work for you, okay, if the price is too much, promise me that you'll let me know. Because I can make changes, and we can find a program that's going to fit your budget. Because at the end of the day, wouldn't you agree, at least having some coverage in place is better than nothing at all?
Of course, yes.
Okay. So option number 1, I am required to show you what the maximum benefit under these state-regulated plans. The maximum benefit is actually $35,000. Okay. So option 1 will cover you for $35,000. So I'm going to write that down there. And if you were to pass due to an accident, it's going to double. So that would actually pay out $70,000 due to accidental death. Okay. Option 2, remember when I showed you the form, and according to Social Security, when you're 80, average funeral cost is roughly going to be a little bit over 20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do for option 2 is I'm going to show you the future, what the possible future cost would be. So I'm going to put $20,000 in there. So this would pay out a $20,000 death benefit, and it would be $40,000 if you were to pass due to an accidental death. Okay, and then option number 3, so we already know the average cost of a funeral is somewhere around between $10,000 to $15,000. So we're gonna go with $15,000 here, and then that would give you $30,000 of coverage for accidental. Okay, one thing, and this is narrating again. One thing I want to point out when I laid out the pricing, if you notice, I went over each face amount and the reason why we're doing it, but I didn't put any pricing in. Okay, so I do the 3 options first, then I'm going to do the pricing. And what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to use my FEX toolkit. I'll show you how cool this is. We're going to do a demo later. I probably should have already had this plugged in. Let's see, Texas, date of birth, 06, 1955. I just made up a year. Height, your height and weight is good. Okay, and you have bank draft, no health conditions. Okay, and I'm going with Mutual of Omaha. I'm going to go to my compare quote. And I'm putting in real numbers here. 35,000, 20,000, and 15,000. Next. Next. Sorry about this taking so long. Okay. So, alright, for the first option, for the 35,000 with the 70,000 of accidental, what you would need to set aside on a monthly basis to fund this program is $201 a month. Okay. Option number 2, the 20,000, you would just need to set aside $116, and option number 3 would be $88 per month. But you tell me which of these works best for you.
Well, 70,000 really looks grand, but my pocket can't go up to that. So, and I think this is definitely too a small an amount. I think I'll go with option 2.
Option 2, the 116?
Yeah.
Okay. And then who would you want to name as your beneficiary?
Well, I'm thinking about my grandkids, but they're too young to be named.
I can still name your
Oh,
grandchildren.
you can do it?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But I'll put their mom first, because she's the one who handles things.
Yeah, we can put the mom on, put your daughter on as the
Yeah.
primary beneficiary.
Right.
Okay, and what is her name?
Her name is Dana.
Dana. Okay, I'm going to start with that.
Okay.
So a couple of points I want to make is you notice once I did the pricing and I laid everything out, I passed this over to him and I said, you tell me which of these works best for you, and then
Powerful.
you shut the hell up. Okay,
Powerful.
you don't say another word. Now we're going to just not to make this. We don't want to make this video any longer than it has to be, but I do want you to rebut me. Okay, so him and Hall and tell me none of these work for you.
Well, yeah, I would really like the 35,000 natural,
Okay.
but it's just too expensive. I don't know. Is there anything else? Can it be lower?
Well, do this. Just tell me that even the $88, which is my lowest option. Tell me that either you want to think about it or none of them work for you.
Yeah, I think it's a grand proposal, but
Yeah.
I gotta wait. I gotta talk to my daughter first to see.
I understand.
If it makes sense.
Yeah. And then here's what I can tell you, and you should wait and you should talk to your daughter. Okay, just remember what I said before. This is just the application process. And here's what I can tell you is that I've been doing this for a long time, and I've met with hundreds of thousands of people in your same situation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm kind of getting the feeling of what I'm showing you is a little bit out of your price range.
Now that you put it that way, yes. I think $88 is the smallest amount you have there.
Yeah.
Is a little bit.
I was getting
steep.
that feeling.
Yeah.
Because can I tell you something, honestly?
Yeah.
If it's always about the money. It's always about the money. And remember when I was going over the options and I said, hey, if it doesn't fit into your budget, let me know.
Oh, you did say that. Yeah.
Because we can make options that would be able to fit your budget. But you tell me if $88, I know that doesn't work. You tell me if we could find you a program and get you a great coverage for somewhere maybe between $50 to $60 a month. Does that fit a little bit better into your budget, or would you still need something a little bit lower?
I think 50, 55 or so may work.
Okay. Can I show? I'm going to show you a couple of different options. Let me show you what most people are doing in your situation in that option. Okay. So if we look at the $55 a month, and basically what I'm going to do is for this presentation. So I'm going to do another 3-option close, but I just flip the cover sheet over, and I'll do, because he told me he could afford around $55.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is on back of my worksheet, I'm going to use my FEX toolkit. I'm going to give him 3 more options: $50 a month, $55, and $60, and then I'm going to put the face amounts that go along with that. And let's just assume it would be, let's see here, let's say this one is $12,000 and 55 is $10,000 and this one is $7,500. So, Orette, based on your budget, what we could do is we could put a plan in place for $50 a month. That would get you $7,500 worth of coverage. You could do 55, which would get you $10,000, or 60, which is $12,000. Of these 3, you tell me which one works best for you.
All right, but this is just a natural passing, though, right? Do we have the accidental?
Oh, it does. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Yeah, so this one would actually pay out $15,000 for accidental. I forgot to write that down. This would pay out $20,000, and this would pay out $24,000.
Yeah, I did say 55, but I think I'll go with the 60. I should be able to manage the 60.
And you would feel comfortable with that? Okay. Who you want to be the beneficiary. That's kind of the close. Oh yeah,
Right.
my daughter. Okay, all right. Then as I'm going through the application, one of the important things is, and sometimes agents struggle with this, is getting banking information. Okay? So as you're going through the application, whether it's paper app or you're doing an e-application, when you get to the banking part, all I simply ask is, Orette, out of curiosity, who do you bank with?
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo? Okay. I'm assuming that's a checking or savings?
Checking.
Okay. If I have a paper app, I'll simply do this. I'll say, here, can you do me a favor? Wherever it is. I'll type in Wells Fargo. Can you do me a favor, Orette? Just fill in, just write in your routing number and the account number. I'll just hand him a pen. And he said, well, I got to go grab my checkbook or whatever. Okay? So that's one way to get around that. Okay, now we're assuming we've done the application. Okay? The next thing we want to do after we've completed the application is I want to get some referrals. Okay? So I'm going to do what we call the ERS, which is the Emergency Response System. And also I'm going to do the initial survey. And then we're going to close up by doing the cool down, okay? So we're assuming I've done my application and it was either electronic or it was a paper app. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go back into the folder that I left with him, and I'm going to do the ERS, which stands for Emergency Response System, okay? So here's how I'm going to phrase this. Orette, at the end of the day, once we get this policy approved for you, and you want that money to be able to go to your daughter as quickly as possible, and God forbid when you do pass away, my responsibility as your agent is to make sure I deliver that money to your daughter as quickly as possible. Okay? But unfortunately, in no fault of the insurance company, there are literally millions and millions of dollars of life insurance that never gets paid to the beneficiary. And do you know why?
No.
Take a wild guess. Why do you think? Think it's because they don't want to pay?
Could be, I don't know.
I'm going to tell you why. It's because no one ever notified the insurance company.
Well, why would they not?
Because a client takes out a policy, they stick it in a drawer somewhere, they never tell anybody, they put it in a safety deposit box, the beneficiaries don't even know, the agent never finds out, and guess what happens? The policy lapses, the coverage never gets paid. I don't want that to happen to you. So, it did happen to me once where that happened, and what we developed is something called the emergency response system. And what the emergency response system, it's people that you know that care and love you and would want to make sure is that when the tragedy does strike, that they simply have my information as your agent just to call me to let me know. This way I can process all the paperwork so I can make sure that your daughter gets the money as quickly as possible. Okay? Who's the first person that you would like to put on that on your emergency response system? Someone that you feel would be responsible. And normally we like to get at least 5 or 6 people, because some people will, maybe they pass away, maybe they move away, maybe they lose my business card. So it's important that we at least get, ideally, at least 5 or 6 people on your emergency response system. But you tell me, who's the first person that you thought of?
I'm thinking of my sister.
Your sister?
Yeah.
Is she local?
Yeah, she's in 2
Okay.
hours away.
All right, so sister. So basically, that's the ERS system. I'm going to go through and I'm going to keep asking you who's next, who's next, who's next, until I at least get this page filled up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 on here. Maybe I do some on the back. Maybe I can get 10. And then these are, as an agent, these are people that you can reach out to and just let them know that, hey, why the ERS system, and find out, hey, out of curiosity, do you have anything in place? I'm your brother's agent. He took out a policy with me. Just curious, do you have anything in place? Maybe I can save you some money. Maybe I can review. That's a great way to get referrals. Okay, so that's the ERS. The next thing, one of the last things I'm going to do is I'm going to use the survey. This is a great way to get more referrals. Especially, let's say you do the ERS and the person's a little bit hesitant. Well, I don't know. Okay, well I'll do the ERS system. And basically what this is I'll simply say to my client, all right, I am required, before I leave here today, I just want to make sure I did a great job. And my company wants me to do an exit interview just to make sure I did everything properly. So I want you to answer these questions truthfully. This way I get proper feedback. So if there's any areas that I need to improve on, my bosses can make sure I do a better job. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you'll be totally honest on everything?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. My first question is, and this is a question to you, it says, my senior advisor was courteous and very friendly. Would you disagree, somewhat agree, or strongly agree?
Strongly agree.
Thank you very much. My advisor was knowledgeable and very professional. Would you disagree, somewhat agree, or strongly agree?
Strongly agree.
My advisor explained thoroughly all my rights and options. Would you disagree, somewhat agree, or strongly agree?
You did a great job, sir. That's strongly
Thank
agree.
you.
Mm-hmm.
How satisfied are you with the explanation of the features and benefits of your life insurance program? Not satisfied, somewhat satisfied, very satisfied?
Very satisfied. That's why
Okay.
I think I'm going with you.
Thank you. And I feel the insurance program I applied for fits my needs and budget. I disagree, somewhat agree, strongly agree.
That I can agree, because when I couldn't afford it, you back off and you provide other options.
Okay, very good. Last question. Based on your overall experience today, how likely would you be to recommend your senior advisor to friends and family? Would you recommend, would not recommend, maybe recommend, or definitely recommend?
Well, you did a good job, and I feel comfortable with you, so I'd recommend. Yeah.
You would definitely recommend?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, awesome. Out of curiosity, who's the first person that you would like to refer over?
My sister.
Your sister. So you see, how could you possibly say you would definitely recommend
Yeah.
and then not recommend
Yeah.
anybody?
You build up to it. So.
You're building up to it, right?
Yeah.
So it works like a
It
charm.
works.
Okay, and then the last thing I want to do is before I just don't want to write an application and then say, oh, well, I'll see you later. I got to get to my next appointment. I want to do what they call I call it the cool down and the pushback. And I'm just going to talk to you, man. We're going to relax. So, let me ask you a question and be honest with me. Do you feel better? Do you feel like a burden has been relieved since we're moving forward with this? You feel better?
Yeah, because it's obviously been on my mind. So
Yeah.
and I keep putting it off, but I'm glad I made this decision today.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, if you ever need anything in the future, I want to make sure that you know to contact me. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, too, and this is really important, is because what I have found and what I know, and you'll agree with this, is that the only policy that ever matters is the policy that's in place, that's active when you pass away. Doesn't matter how many policies you had in the past. It's the ones that are in force when you pass away that matter. And the reason why I bring that up is because I just want to make sure with 100% confidence is that before we finalize everything and I get the approval from the insurance company, I just want to make sure that $60 a month comfortably fits into your budget and isn't taking any food off the table.
Right. I definitely believe I could afford that because that first one that I liked, the 116,
Yeah.
and even the 88 was a little bit stiff. But
Okay.
But the 60 I could not.
The 60, you're sure this, okay.
Yeah.
And if you do change your mind, it's a lot easier to change it now versus later. Okay. And we can always add more coverage later if you want to. But I appreciate you meeting with me. Any questions for me before I leave?
Yeah. How soon do I get the policy?
Well, it should be approved within 3 to 5 business days. Once it's approved, I'm going to follow up with you and let you know that it's approved. But usually it will be mailed to the house in about 10 business days. Okay?
Okay.
So the last thing I'm just going to do before I leave is I'm going to go ahead and write out your policy receipt. And guys, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to write this out, but it's important to do that. Write out this policy receipt where you put in their name, the plan that they took, who their beneficiary is. Leave this with them because, you know, you may feel like you did a great job. You leave and then, you know, their kids or somebody stop by. Well, what'd you get? Well, I got a life insurance policy. And, well, do you have any paperwork? Oh, they have this nice folder. But make sure you leave this receipt with them. Okay, it's important. The other thing too is that I want to make sure that we fill out this form, the stop form, because if you ever, I want you to promise me something. If you ever get an agent that ever comes in later and tries to sell you another policy or tries to get you to cancel this policy, you need to call me, okay? Because I can promise you, it's not going to be in your best interest. All they're trying to do is make a commission. So I'm going to leave this paperwork with you and make sure, I know you're already going to have my phone number, but we're going to leave everything together. And when you get your policy, what I want you to do is I want you to put everything that I left in your policy, I want you to put it back into this folder and keep it in a safe place. Okay? So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get out of your hair so I can get to my next appointment, but I'm going to call you in a few days when you've been approved. And then I'll call you in a couple of months just to see how things are going, make sure you don't have any questions.
Sounds good to me.
All right?
Okay.
All right, Arad. Thank you,
My pleasure,
sir.
man.
Very nice meeting you.
My pleasure.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Okay, and then I'm leaving and I'm going to my next appointment. So that completes the in-home presentation. So appreciate you guys tuning in and watching this video. All right, guys, and I'll just and I told you. Somebody reminded me, thanks Bianca, that I forgot. I always, before I exit, I always like doing the I am your policy, okay? This is a great thing to read, and you can really do this anytime, but when you're exiting, this is a great time to do it. And let me just take a minute to do this, and I'll explain how I do it. before I leave, the last thing I forgot to go over this with you, and I apologize. But one of our agents came up with this, and it's called "I Am Your Policy." And this is, if you can imagine, in a world of magic, if your life insurance policy could come alive and talk, like in a Disney movie, you know, how everything comes to life. And your policy basically says this. It says, you and I have similar purposes in this world. It's your job to provide food, clothing, shelter, medicine, sundry, and other essential items your loved ones, for your loved ones. You do this while I lie in your desk drawer. I have faith and trust in you that out of your earnings will come the cost of my upkeep. In other words, you paying for your policy. At times, I may appear to be worthless to you, but someday, and who knows when, I will come alive and change places. When you are laid to rest, I will come alive and I will do your job. I will provide the funds necessary for your final resting place and guarantee your loved ones will not be burdened. I can also provide food, clothing, shelter, medicine, and other essential items your family will continue to need just as you are doing now. When your work is done and your afterlife begins, my work will begin, and through your hands, through me, your hands will carry on, and so will your legacy. Whenever you feel the price you are paying for my upkeep is burdensome, remember I will do more for you and your family than you can ever do for me. If you do your part, I will do mine. Sincerely, your policy. Okay, so just remember that. It's very powerful. Now, the funny thing is that I got to be honest. Sometimes it's hard for me to read that and not get choked up. But if you read this and you put a lot of voice inflection in it, you'll have. I swear to God, you'll have clients that will break down and they'll start crying at the kitchen table. They really will, because it will bring up emotions of people that have passed in their life, and they'll think about whether they didn't have insurance, or they'll feel the comfort and the blessing that they did have insurance to cover everything.
Right. I believe this cements it, because it brings in that, it takes it beyond logic to emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all about emotion.
Emotions, yeah.
It's not logical to buy life insurance. Let me
It's
just tell you,
emotions, yeah.
it's all about
Yeah.
the emotion. So, Bianca, thanks for making me
Good,
go
yeah.
back and doing the I Am Your policy. It is very important. So with that, we'll go ahead and conclude. That wraps up the training for today. With the
Awesome.
hopefully I did a good job.
You did a good job.
All
Great
right.
job.
All right, guys, take care. Thank you.
Great job.